Hey, what's up? How you doing? It's Garabo. So, before now, in the previous part, please go check it out. I was speaking about this dude that I met when I was a dropout at varsity by circumstance, not because of anything that I chose myself. But he underestimated me based on that and literally went from like brightness to night overnight upon just like it catching up with him, his classism. And he ended up treating me quite trashy. However, he was decent enough to take me back home after trying to have sex with me in his apartment when I thought we were going on an official date to like a pizza drink or whatever. But instead we wound up in his apartment, and when I refused to kiss him, he was like, "You're wasting my time." But he was decent enough to take me home. Alright, this dude, about a week later, we were back in Melville again, partying at Upper Storm clubbing in another joint now, this time, but still in that same patch. And he was Nabambile. He was with some other girl, a yellow bone of sorts, and when I saw him with this chickie, I wasn't offended. I felt like it was good riddance. At least he acted a fool early enough for me to not have caught too many feelings, and I already imagined him a jerk for having done what he did to me the other night, so I wasn't too brokenhearted. However, because this dude had actual feelings for me, but he decided to abandon them at the door due to his classism, he actually felt the need, he felt compelled to explain to me what in the world I was seeing. It's almost as if though he couldn't stop thinking about me. He still regarded me as a woman he wanted to call again. You couldn't just throw whatever it is that he felt at the door away. Una fosta, if you know what I mean. Yes. So when I saw him then, or at least what appeared to be busting him with another chick, he literally broke off from this woman that he was with to come to me, and I was again that night with my sister and my cousin, you know, and he was like, it's not what you think, she's my cousin, and yes, I was like, okay, whatever. And the way that I responded to him, he had this facial expression on some, okay, well, I guess it's over for real. And I remember just thinking, you took me back home after driving me from Florida, where I used to stay, all the way to, he used to stay in Norwood or something. You drove all the way from Florida to Norwood, drove right past restaurants where we could have had a nice dinner, and then you took me back home and you sat me on your couch, tried to kiss me. I refused because I realized you had become a jerk overnight and stopped wanting to talk about anything relevant other than, you know, dropped off. And then you took me back home after I rejected sex with you. So, and like even just kissing, and you said that I wasted your time. And when I bump into you with some other chick in the club, I guess you found somebody that's happy to sleep with you 2 days after she's met you, right? You then feel the need or compelled to explain to me that she's your cousin. What are you doing? You passed me up. He just looked at me like, I guess this means we're not together. And I'm like, why would I still think we're together? Or even trying to start anything? We have one really cute romantic date during our lunches each at work. We speak about important matters of grave concern on the earth. And then you ignore all that because I'm a dropout at varsity. You ignore also my story as to why that's even the case, because you think I'm not in your league. And then you go and you fetch yourself some cute little girl in the club as well. And when then you get found with her, busted with her, I didn't even realize that it was even a busting that we're doing here. I didn't realize it was a little bit of a, you know, a drug bust, like the popo rocking up and finding coke in your car. You then explain to me what in the world I just saw. Dude, you moved on from me the moment you dropped me off at home 35 minutes after I refused to kiss you on your couch. That was the day you were like free, liberated. Fly like a bird, oh Nelly Furtado. You're like a bird, go on and fly away. And grab your cute little yellow bone and make out with her in the club and do what you want to do with her because you literally dropped me off at home after I refused to kiss you. That's the kind of stuff that breaks up marriages, relations. It's the kind of stuff that makes you walk out. Like, it's a red flag. Yes, that's what they call them. That's the kind of stuff that is a deal breaker when it comes to a new relationship starting, never mind marriages. It's a deal breaker when you take me back home because I refuse to have sex with you. So why are you explaining to me who that girl is? He was like, no, she's just a cousin. And I'm like, you know what? Yankapugis. She's just a girl and address and belas. She sounded like Zola, so he sounded like Zola on that day. Ukhazela ntoni buti undishiye endlini inhliziyo yami ibuhlungu after trying to kiss me and I refused to, you Georgie Porgy pudding pie kissed the girls and made them cry. You wanted to make me a one night stand, and now you want to explain to me your like friend that you're with in the club. Dude, you could make out with her, dry hump her on the nightclub floor and I wouldn't care less. And he picked that up from me, the way that I responded to him, and that was pretty much the end of us. I never saw him again after that. But that was a man that immediately regretted his decision for being so classist against me. Now, the dream that I had with this dude, remember, his sister intervened. You're gonna have to listen to all the other parts to understand that I'm explaining a rapture dream in all of these parts, believe it or not, okay? His sister mediated between him and I in this dream, and when I finally got to see this guy, because I get all along he was sending for me and I couldn't see him directly, when I finally got to see his face, he was the face of this dude that I was like hurt by only ever so briefly when I was like 21 years old, that I met in the club, that I got along with well swimmingly initially, but because of classism things broke apart and he basically treated me like trash. However, he was a gentleman enough to drop me off at home. This guy wore the face of that dude. The dude in my dream looked exactly like the guy all the while when I was 21, and God was showing me with that hore, they share a similar spirit, or classist extremely, sufficiently enough for him to undermine you because of what you have or don't have, and he thinks he's in a position to basically like take care of everything. Like, he feels like you can't bring anything to the table for him. You know, that dude started acting elevated and pompous above me because of what he had and what I didn't have. Mara, initially we started out really like getting along swimmingly, and this dude did in my dream exactly what it is that this, let's say his name was Sinetemba. This Sinetemba dude that I crushed on and liked when I was still a kid. We started out getting along like a house on fire. He didn't underestimate me. He treated me like a queen. And then when he sort of kind of sat and like marinated his mind in my poverty or my suffering and my want, my lack, whatever was a shortcoming in my life, it changed him and made him kind of arrogant and bossy over me and, you know, sending over me. And that's exactly what Usinetemba did. He, in my dream, I understood that this was a man that was supposed to meet me at the airport, remember? And he was supposed to welcome me lovingly into his land, but he sent for me at the airport. And when I got there, I didn't even see him. I had to see his darkness through a wall. I then found myself stranded in a room with his sister, and his sister was the one that mediated between him and I. And it took he tried to get his men to send me back to South Africa since I didn't want to be with him. He was decent enough to try and get me like convoyed back to the airport instead of just left like as a prostitute in Botswana or whatever. He was decent enough to arrange another flight for me to return. Didn't complain about all the money I allegedly wasted in him getting me there in the first place, but he wanted to use his men to send me back. And I was like, I want to see the guy that I was talking to, that I ended up trusting. And it was the sister that had to mediate between him and I until ultimately he then reared his ugly head finally. And his face was that of my yellow bone Terrence Howard lookalike from like 21, when I was 21. And yeah, as he would like, just seeing him in that state is exactly what the Lord was using to help me understand the constitution of this guy. Start out humble and treating me well, realizing that we're birds of a feather, two peas in a pod, essentially, but then ending up mistreating me based on marinating in my sorrow, allowing his brain to be made muddy, pudgy, and fudge because he was trained unto classism in his upbringing. And so he ended up treating me like somebody that just, let my servant take you to the airport. Let my servant pick you up from the airport. Let my servant. And I'm like, but we are the one that had the connection. What is going on? And as quickly as I moved on from Usinetemba from back in the day, I, in my dream, moved on from this dude. His pomp and his arrogance was a massive turn off. And I only got to see him after I basically begged his sister to rescue me from the potential of being raped by his men, now that he doesn't care about me, because his care for me was what would have made anybody basically treat me with kid gloves. But now that he was upset with me because I was like leaving him, I was scared that his men would feel no need now to revere their boss, and so they would just like have their way with me. That's why I feared rape. And the sister intervened by mediating so I could now be taken back to the airport by the guy. Next part.